Hey guys, I hope everything is well with you and your families. And yeah, the prompt idea that I chose for this project was the torn paper effect. I've always liked to use my own pictures or drawings and just a lot of different types of media in the things that I make on Photoshop. And I thought it'd be really cool if I could make it look more like a scrapbook in some sort of way, or just the torn paper effect adds another side of creativity to it, and it just looks really cool. So I really wanted to learn how to do that. Looked up a couple tutorials and kind of got it mastered for the most part. We can struggle together through this, and yeah, I'm just going to show you some this cool technique that I learned. So enjoy. Okay, so this is the picture that I decided to use. You can use whatever picture your heart desires, really, but this is what I decided to use. Something that I found really helpful was to learn how to actually download the brushes, which you can do, surprise. You can download really cool brushes such as like the clouds and the sunlight, or for example, what I will be using is the torn paper effect. So just go to Google and you can really find anything there. And then just download it. And then the way that you'll pull it up on your Photoshop is you'll click on the Photoshop page. You'll go to Window, click on Brushes. Then you'll see this little button right here. Go to Import Brushes. And then just remember what you saved your download as, and that way it'll be a lot quicker to find. I already downloaded mine, so we're going to hit cancel. And it will download it, and you'll see it pop up right here. And then you could save it, whatever you want to call it. I called mine torn paper brushes because that's what they are. I know, really creative. But yeah, so that's how you get your brushes. As I mentioned before, this is the picture I chose. I'm gonna crop it because I think it's gonna look a lot better. Just a little shrink down. I think this is just a lot of extra space right here. Looks good for the picture, but not for what I want to do. So we're gonna crop it. When you are cropping, a really good tip is to make sure you click on content aware. That way you don't lose the pixels that you're cropping out. In case you change your mind and you want to change the crop. But yeah, I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. There you go. So what we're gonna do next is we're going to have a little. We're gonna add a mask on top. So a layer mask. So that's how we're gonna press this button right here, add a layer mask, and then we're gonna use the brushes that we just downloaded. So your brushes can either pop up here depending on how your Photoshop is set up, or it will just show up right here. So the cool thing that Photoshop does is it gives you a little outline of what you're doing, and it also saves the brushes that you're using, or you can just kind of memorize the size that you want, which is what I did. But yeah, and so that's pretty big. Oh, and this guy right here, this guy's gonna help you just kind of line up where you want your thing to go exactly. That's up to you. Whatever your heart desires, really. I think that looks pretty cool, so that's what I'm gonna go with. Excuse me. What we're gonna do is make sure that when you say if you click right now, nothing's gonna happen. So in order for something to happen, you need to make sure that one, you're on the little mask layer right here, and then two, that the black box is on top. So we're just gonna click this right here, and then voila, it will work. So what I want to do is I actually want to make this just a little more triangular because I think it will just look a little bit better and a little more realistic, because when you rip paper it doesn't tend to rip quite perfectly like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, flip this to white with the white square on top, go back to my brushes and just kind of line it up a different angle. That way when I do this, it's just a little easier. Might do a little more actually. Okay. I think that looks a little more realistic. Just You can actually just play with that for as long as you want until you get the shape that you want, but for me, I think that looks pretty good. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another layer so that we can actually put a picture into the void that we just created. So you'll go to File, go to Place Linked, and then you'll see all of the things that you have on your laptop. Thankfully, I know where my picture is. Something that you can do that I will show you in a different little video is just adding other people and other options, and you can just really see the variety that you can use. But this is what I'm going to be using. So this is what I'm using. You'll see right here that my picture is on top of what I actually want to create. Just remember to have this layer, right, this picture right here, you want it in that picture in the little void we created. So you want to make sure that this layer is underneath your actual main background. So we're gonna Command T just to kind of reshape it. Just you want to make sure you fill everything. You don't want little gaps, or else that will just kind of look a little interesting. I think you can just kind of play with however you want it to be. I kind of want the sun to kind of be where I think my eye would have been. I think that looks about right there. And again, you can just use whatever you want for that. Something that's going to make this kind of look a little more realistic is creating the little pieces of white paper on the edge, because when you do tear paper, you do get a little bit of white on the edge. So I'm gonna help you with that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create another layer, and this layer we're gonna turn white. So the way you do that is you'll go to the paint bucket, which usually would be your gradient tool if you haven't used the paint bucket before. So use that. Make sure that the white's on top and that this is white right here as well, and you'll just click it and voila. So then the next thing you'll do is you'll hold down Option and you'll click the mask layer, and that just, you'll see the picture that you put in there first, but don't worry, that's all intended. So what you'll do next is make sure you stay on this layer right here. You'll go back to your brushes, and you can leave your brushes whatever size you want, and you'll just click away, and yeah, this kind of goes to however you prefer it to look like. If you change the size of the brush, it makes it a little easier, but you just got to make sure that the more changes you do, or even use different brushes, that way it doesn't look like you're using the same brush and it looks a little bit more realistic again. So I'm just gonna play with this for a little bit, and then yeah, so don't mind me, I'm just gonna play with this for a little bit. You see like the little edges, that's why you kind of want to play with the sides too, that way you're not getting just all of those weird edges. But yeah, it's pretty fun and relaxing. You just kind of have fun with it. Here we go. Okay, I'm just gonna add just a little bit more and then we'll call it a day. Oops. Yeah, so thank God for Command Z, because you can just it kind of fixes everything. See, that's what you kind of want to avoid right there, is you can see the little lines. So just keep that in mind. That way it'll just look more realistic. Okay. We're just gonna do this. And I think that's as much as I'm just gonna do now, just for the sake of time. But that's how you use the torn paper effect, and you can always play with shadows and stuff just to make this pop out more or this one pop out more, just depending on what you like. But yeah, that's how you use the torn paper effect. I hope you guys enjoyed it.